The morning light slipped through the diner windows before anyone noticed it. It moved slowly, touching the chrome edges of the tables, resting on half-filled coffee cups, warming the quiet air. For a few seconds, everything felt peaceful, the kind of calm that exists before the world reminds you who it can be. At the booth closest to the window sat a girl in a wheelchair. Her name was Clara. A plate of pancakes rested carefully on the tray in front of her, steam rising softly. She held her fork with both hands, steadying herself as if the simple act of eating required courage. Her eyes followed the light instead of the people around her. Light never judged. A few booths away, laughter cut through the calm. It was loud, careless, sharp. A group of boys leaned into each other, their voices rising as if daring the room to notice them. Clara tried not to look. She had learned that looking sometimes invited pain. She focused on the syrup dripping slowly down the stack, breathing in and out, counting the seconds. The laughter grew closer. She felt it before she saw it. A shadow crossed her table, then a hand, fast and thoughtless, struck the edge of her tray. The plate tipped, pancakes slid, syrup splashed. The sound of porcelain breaking against tile echoed through the diner like a crack in glass. Another shove followed. Her wheelchair rolled back a few inches, just enough to steal her balance, just enough to remind her how fragile her place in the world could feel. The boys laughed harder. Time slowed, forks froze in midair, conversations died without ceremony. No one spoke, no one moved. Clara's chest tightened as heat rushed to her face. Her hands shook, reaching down, trying to gather what was left of her breakfast, trying to make herself smaller than she already felt. She didn't cry right away, she fought it. She always did, but humiliation has weight and it pressed down until tears escaped despite her effort. She stared at the floor, blinking fast, hoping the moment would end if she didn't acknowledge it. A chair scraped softly nearby. An older man knelt beside her without drawing attention. His movements were careful, respectful. He picked up the broken plate and placed the larger pieces back on the table. He didn't look at the boys, he didn't raise his voice. He simply said, "You didn't deserve that," as if stating a quiet truth. Clara nodded, unable to speak. The kindness helped, but it didn't erase the feeling of being exposed. The boys kept laughing, feeding off the silence around them. Courage, it seemed, had stepped outside for fresh air. Clara's life had always required patience. She was born with a body that demanded extra care, extra time, extra strength. Her parents taught her early that her worth wasn't measured by how fast she moved, but by how deeply she felt. Still, the world often acted as if difference was an invitation for cruelty. She had faced stares before, whispers, pity dressed up as kindness, but this was different, this was deliberate, this was chosen. She closed her eyes and waited for the clock to move faster. Minutes later, a low sound rolled through the windows. At first, it felt distant, like wind. Then it grew stronger. Engines, not one but many, heads turned, curtains of thought lifted. Outside, a line of motorcycles pulled into the parking lot, metal catching the sun, engines settling into silence one by one. The diner door opened. A group of writers stepped inside, their presence heavy but calm. They didn't rush. They didn't stare. They scanned the room the way people do when they already sense something is wrong. One of them, tall and broad, paused when his eyes reached Clara. His expression changed. He walked toward her and lowered himself to her level, resting one knee on the floor. His voice was gentle, almost quiet enough to miss. "Are you okay?" That was when the tears came freely, not because she was weak but because someone had finally asked. The man listened, not just to her words but to what sat beneath them. He nodded once, slowly, then stood and turned toward the boys. He didn't shout, he didn't threaten. He spoke calmly, clearly, with the kind of authority that doesn't need volume. The boys shrank under it. Chairs pushed back, apologies fell out in pieces, clumsy and late. One by one they stood and left, their laughter gone, replaced by something closer to shame. No one clapped, no one cheered, the room simply breathed again. The writers stayed only a little longer. One of them placed fresh pancakes in front of Clara. Another paid the bill without ceremony. The man who had knelt beside her gently draped his jacket over her shoulders, warm from the ride, heavy with meaning. "You belong everywhere," he said, "don't forget that." When they left, the diner felt brighter, though the light hadn't changed. Clara sat there for a long moment, holding the edge of the table, feeling something unfamiliar settle in her chest. It wasn't relief, it wasn't victory, it was dignity returning to its place. She finished her pancakes slowly. People smiled at her on their way out, not pitying smiles, real ones, the kind that say, "I see you." And when she rolled toward the door, the bell rang again, soft and ordinary, as if nothing extraordinary had happened at all. But Clara knew better. If this story stayed with you, take a quiet moment to like it, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more soulful stories like this. And if you feel it, comment one word below.